8 years ago, as an army soldier stationed in a new city, I was navigating a world that felt unfamiliar and solitary. It was during this time that I met Danielle. She worked as a front desk admin at a local clinic, and our first interaction was far from romantic. I was just another patient, and she was bound by the office policy that forbade dating clients. But that barrier only heightened my interest, and soon, with the help of a mutual acquaintance named Shannon, I learned that Danielle was curious about me, too. Danielle and I eventually started dating, and our relationship felt like a revelation. She was kind, passionate, and knew exactly how to support me through my demanding job. From sending me thoughtful messages while I was deployed to engaging in thrilling activities like marathons and extreme sports, Danielle brought excitement and warmth into my life. Over time, we moved in together and adopted a dog, Sky. Life seemed perfect. But perfect never lasts. For the first couple of years, life with Danielle was more than I could have hoped for. She was not only my partner but my confidant, someone who could match my energy and ambition. We spent time together working out, training for marathons, and embracing the challenges of our busy lives. The bond we shared felt unbreakable. Moving in together only strengthened that belief. With Sky by our side, our home felt complete, a place filled with laughter and affection. But cracks started to appear after we had settled into our shared life. One night, sitting on the couch watching Netflix, Danielle turned to me with a serious look and said she didn't want to be with me anymore. It hit me like a bolt out of the blue. Confused and hurt, I tried to make sense of her sudden decision. She pulled out her phone and read off a list of minor grievances from the past year: being loud in the mornings when I left for work, using my phone at the grocery store, and not buying her flowers, despite her once telling me she didn't even like them. Each point was more baffling than the last. It felt as though she had been keeping a mental scorecard, tallying up every perceived slight without ever mentioning them until now. I asked her why she had waited so long to bring these up, why she hadn't come to me sooner so we could work on them together. Her only response was that she was waiting for the right moment and that we hadn't been on the same page for a long time. When I pressed her, wanting to understand what was really going on, she admitted she didn't see herself getting married. She knew I had considered marriage, even if it was just a passing thought mentioned to a friend. That realization, she said, scared her. The commitment of marriage was overwhelming, a weight she didn't want to bear. The conversation felt surreal, like we were two strangers speaking past each other. Despite the heartbreak, I apologized for any faults of mine and told her I wished she had felt safe enough to come to me sooner. I didn't want to lose her, but I also didn't want to be the reason she fell back into old habits. She had struggled with sobriety in the past. Eventually, Danielle moved out, and I was left in a daze, trying to piece together what had happened. But even after she left, we couldn't stay away from each other. We continued to meet, to text, and to fall back into the familiar rhythm of our relationship. It was confusing, but it felt natural. What followed was an emotional whirlwind. Even after Danielle moved out, we kept seeing each other, unable to fully let go. We texted daily, and she visited often, sometimes just to talk, other times to rekindle the physical connection that never seemed to wane. It was almost as if nothing had changed, as if she hadn't moved out at all. The lines between our breakup and relationship blurred, making it difficult to tell where we stood. When I was deployed for 3 months, the communication from Danielle slowed. There were fewer texts, and a distance began to grow between us. My worry spiked when Shannon, my buddy's wife, relayed concerns that Danielle had fallen off the wagon and was drinking again. She even sent a blurry video showing Danielle taking shots at a bar surrounded by 3 men. I felt a wave of disbelief and confusion. This couldn't be true. With a heavy heart, I called Danielle. She answered, sounding perfectly fine, and when I asked her directly about drinking, she denied it. She told me she had gone out with friends from AA and that the shots were just water. I wanted to believe her, but her defensiveness and the video footage gnawed at me. We argued, with her accusing me of not trusting her and me feeling gaslit and frustrated. I hung up, regretting it almost immediately, worried that I might have pushed her to a breaking point if she truly was struggling. When I returned from deployment, I arrived at our shared house before Danielle. The sight that greeted me was devastating. The house was a wreck: old dog feces in the basement, empty fast food containers, red Solo cups scattered like remnants of forgotten parties, and a sink full of moldy dishes. Sky looked thin and neglected, a shadow of the energetic dog I had left behind. And then, the most damning discovery: the vodka bottle in the freezer, and used condom wrappers in the bathroom trash. The sinking feeling in my chest was almost too much to bear. I cleaned the house tirelessly, anger and grief fueling my movements. When Danielle finally came home at 2 a.m., dressed in her uniform, she walked in to find me standing in the living room, the evidence laid out in plain sight. Her expression shifted from surprise to indifference as she looked at the condom wrappers and the vodka. She didn't deny the drinking, and when I pointed out the wrappers, she merely shrugged. That was the breaking point. I told her we were done and that there would be no reconciling this time. Her lifestyle had crossed too many lines, from neglecting Sky to lying and cheating. I couldn't support her choices or be her scapegoat any longer. I insisted that Sky was staying with me and told her to leave. As she packed, Danielle tried to justify herself, saying she had needs while I was away. The anger in me flared up one last time, and I coldly told her that there were other ways to handle those feelings that didn't involve betrayal. I made it clear that we were over, and that this was final. Danielle's departure marked the end of an era filled with love, betrayal, and disbelief. As she packed her things, I stood firm, knowing there was no going back this time. The emotional toll of forgiving her, trying to rebuild, and then facing this level of deception was too much. When she walked out for the last time, I felt a mix of deep sorrow and relief. The house was quiet, almost oppressively so, but the silence brought a strange sense of peace. In the days that followed, I reached out to the person who had initially sent the video to Shannon, seeking the truth. It confirmed everything I had feared. The shots at the bar were real, not water as Danielle had claimed. The men she had been with were not sober friends from AA, they were strangers she had met while drinking. I also discovered that her infidelity wasn't limited to one incident. Since our first breakup, she had been seeing other men behind my back, all while pretending to work on herself and maintain her sobriety. What hurt the most was realizing how long the lies had gone on. Danielle had kept her alcoholism hidden for 6 years, maintaining a facade that deceived not just me, but everyone around her. Sober Danielle had been the woman I loved, fun, compassionate, and determined. But it was a mirage, one that crumbled the moment I dug deeper. Months passed, and I focused on healing and rebuilding. Sky, who had been a silent witness to all the turmoil, slowly returned to her cheerful self under my care. I made a promise to never let anyone neglect or harm her again. She had been my constant through it all, a reminder of loyalty and unconditional love. The house, which once felt suffocating, started to feel like a home again. The broken trust and shattered hopes left scars, but they also taught me resilience. I knew I would move forward more cautious and guarded, but wiser. Danielle tried reaching out a few times, offering apologies that felt empty and too late. I didn't respond. There was no place for her in the life I was trying to rebuild. Despite everything, I cherished the memory of the person she had once been, or at least the person I believed she was. It was hard to reconcile those memories with the reality of what happened, but it helped me find closure. I learned that love, even when genuine, isn't always enough to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. It's been months now, and while the pain still lingers, it doesn't define me. I focus on Sky, my career, and the small joys that remind me life can be good again. The betrayal taught me lessons I never wanted to learn, but I emerged stronger, ready to move on, this time, on my terms. Thank you for listening to my story. If you found comfort or connection in what I've shared, I encourage you to stay connected. Your support means more than words can say.